All right, I know this sounds dramatic, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Being a digital nomad sucks. Well, not all the time, not every day, but if you're only looking at the Instagram version of it, then you're not seeing the full story here. I've lived in different countries, I've worked from different places, and it was an amazing experience. You know, going from place to place with still a stable job, it's amazing. However, we gotta be careful when we talk about being a digital nomad long term. I have some friends who have been digital nomads for several years now, and honestly, it's not as simple as it looks. Of course, there are big advantages, traveling from place to place, exploring different countries, and still keeping your job. In theory, it sounds amazing, but in practice, there are a few things you gotta bear in mind before you decide to become a digital nomad. Loneliness is probably the hardest part for me. You know, making friends as an adult is already difficult. But then imagine making these friends and then all of a sudden they leave or you leave because most of these connections are temporary. You connect, you build something, and then someone leaves. After a while, you almost stop trying because you know it won't last. I've had difficulties making friends in China, but then there the expat community was huge. So it was great, like to be in that expat bubble, let's say. But when you're an adult, it's a bit more difficult, especially as a digital nomad, because you don't go to an office every day. You usually work remotely from home, from a cafe. So it's even harder to meet people, let's say coworkers. Another big change is stability. When you're moving to different countries, you kind of start from scratch, you know, a new apartment, new gym, new routine. So it's very hard to keep your routine, to keep a healthy lifestyle. I know there are a lot of people who do that and they post here on YouTube, but still it's very hard when you have to start from scratch, getting to know the area, getting to know the neighborhood. You got to have a lot of discipline if you want to keep a steady and healthy routine. There's also the long-term question that nobody likes to talk about. Pension, retirement, social security. If you're constantly moving, it's not always clear where or if you're actually building a future. And when it comes to like pension plan, I'm sure you've seen that in many countries all over the world, there has been a lot of reforms of pension plan because people are living longer and healthier. So it's really important for you to have some kind of plan for the future. A retirement, where are you going to live? Even if you don't know where you're going to live, but do you have a pension plan, private, public? That is something that we really need to work out before we start thinking about, even before we start thinking about retirement. Renting is another headache. If you're not staying long term, it's very hard to get a proper rental contract. So you end up in Airbnbs or short-term apartments, which means you pay more even if you're staying for months. In my first 2 years here in Colombia, I actually stayed at Airbnbs, but I negotiated the contract locally with the landlords. So it was more expensive than the usual Colombian citizen would pay, but I could still make it doable here. I could only get like a long-term contract with the landlord after I had a stable job here, contract, because and I had to pay a big deposit because as a foreigner it's not the same. So it's something that you got to think about and when you are trying to like plan and go somewhere. And then there are relationships. It's very hard to build a romantic relationship, find a partner, a long-term partner, when you end up traveling or staying there for only 2 or 3 months. So that's something that if you are going to be a digital nomad and move to other places alone, you got to think about it. If you are going with a partner, that would be a bit easier, of course, or with your family, that would be a bit easier. So yes, being a digital nomad sucks, but not because it's a bad life. It's because it is emotionally demanding. And there are these things that you got to think about and think about them carefully before you decide to go and live in different countries. At the same time, I want to be very clear about something. If you are well organized, if you plan ahead, then this lifestyle is doable. And it's also a privilege. Being able to live in different countries, experience new cultures, and still keep your job is something not everyone can do. So, what can you do? Well, loneliness is a problem, and it's a problem. It gets bigger even as we get older because we got to think about our friends, family back home, still keeping in touch with them, but also trying to meet new people. It is a problem, especially when you are a digital nomad, but it is doable. There are many forums for digital nomads. There are websites that are specific for digital nomads, and there are places in the world that have events that are dedicated for digital nomads. So it's a way for you to, as soon as you get to a new place, meet new people and start hanging out and building connections with people. Stability doesn't come from a place specifically, but it comes from you and the discipline that you have of building a routine that suits you in Colombia, in China, or in the US. So it's very important that you bring that routine with you and you try and adapt it no matter where you are. But here is where discipline is extremely important. Long-term security requires planning, not luck, and many nomads build it by contributing to private pensions, investing independently, or choosing one home-based country for taxes and social security. Housing gets easier the more you slow down. So instead of saying like 1 or 2 months in a place, if you stay 3 to 6 months, you can actually negotiate with the landlord, negotiate with someone who will help you. Like even if you get it on Booking or Airbnb, they will help you and make it easier for you and a bit cheaper than what other foreigners would usually pay. Being a digital nomad is a great privilege. I'm very happy that I could do this for some part of my life. But then after some time, I decided to stay here in Colombia, in Bogota, long term. Instead of saying for 2-3 months, I've been here for now over 4 years because I wanted more stability. Now it's up to you. Do you want more stability for now? Do you want more freedom? Do you want to enjoy the time and the weekends and holidays to travel around different countries? Do you want to meet new people, explore different cultures? It's all about the moment you are in the period of your life that you are right now. So there is no, it's bad, it's good, it's not black and white. It's more about what do you want? What are your priorities? And before doing it, think about it, plan ahead, because it's something that you can do and reduce the stress along the way.